My wife asked for an open marriage over breakfast. I thought it was a joke, until I found out she'd already cheated and forced our kids to sleep on the floor during her hookups. I tried to protect them, but what I uncovered next destroyed everything I thought I knew about the woman I married. You ever look someone you love straight in the eye and realize they're already gone? I don't mean dead, Frankie. I mean emotionally, spiritually, just gone. Like they've crawled out of their own skin and someone else is wearing it. That was Emma, my wife, my best friend since college, the mother of my kids, the woman who used to tuck her feet under mine on cold nights and whisper how lucky she was to have me. Now she couldn't even look at me without flinching. It didn't start big. Most things don't. It was little things, you know. I'd leave a plate in the sink after a 14-hour shift, and she'd say something like, "Of course. Why would a man lift a finger?" Then she'd give me that tight-lipped smile, like she was holding back something worse. At first, I thought she was just tired. I mean, we were both working, raising 2 kids. Life was full. But those little comments started to multiply. Helping Lucas with his math homework? That's not helping. That's mansplaining. Telling Sophie her drawing was beautiful? Don't gaslight her. Let her decide if it's good. I swear to God, I felt like I couldn't do anything right in my own damn house. At first, I laughed it off. I thought maybe she'd just been reading too many self-help books or got into one of those crunchy Facebook mom groups. But it wasn't that. It was her new friends. She joined this women's circle at the community center, a feminist discussion group, which sounded fine at first. I mean, I support equality. Hell, I want my daughter to grow up strong and independent. But these women, they weren't about balance. They were about war. They saw men as the enemy, full stop. And slowly, Emma started bringing that battlefield home. It wasn't just the words anymore. It was the way she moved. Cold, suspicious, like I was a threat. Like every word I said had a hidden meaning. I remember one night, she came home from one of their meetings and said, "I've been thinking about our marriage, and I'm realizing how much of my identity I've sacrificed to serve your comfort." I blinked at her. Where is this coming from? She just shrugged. It's not coming from anywhere. I'm just finally waking up. That night, she went to bed without saying goodnight. That used to be our thing. No matter what, every night we'd say it. And now silence. But I tried to keep the peace. For the kids. For us. I picked up more chores and even started meal prepping on Sundays. I'd rub her back at night even if she didn't ask, hoping she'd lean into me like she used to. She didn't. And that's when I noticed something even worse. Lucas started flinching when I reached out to hug him. It was subtle. One evening, we were playing Mario Kart, and I gave him a high five. He winced. Just a little. But it was there. My chest went cold. I asked Emma about it, careful not to sound accusatory. Have you noticed Lucas acting a little off? She didn't even look up from her phone. He's internalizing your fragility, that's why. I blinked. My what? Your male fragility. He sees you lash out when your authority is questioned. It's textbook behavior. Emma, I said slowly, he's 7. He's not thinking about authority. He's scared. No, she said flatly. You're scared because you can't stand being challenged, even by a child. That's when I realized I couldn't reach her. It didn't matter what I said. I was the villain in a script she'd already written. And Sophie, she went quiet. She used to sing in the kitchen, build forts out of pillows, and yell for us to come look. Now, she whispered when she talked, always watching Emma, like she was trying to gauge her mood before speaking. It broke me, so I doubled down, picked the kids up from school more, took over bedtime stories, stayed late at work to avoid the tension, but still made sure to kiss them goodnight. I figured maybe if I could just ride it out, things would get better. Then one Tuesday, everything changed. I came home early from a job site around 2 p.m. and saw a car in the driveway. A dark blue Nissan, not ours, not any of our friends. The curtains in the living room were pulled shut. My first thought? Maybe it's her cousin. Maybe someone dropped by unannounced. My second thought? You know exactly what this is. But I didn't go in. I couldn't. I just sat there in my car, staring at that Nissan. Then I drove off. Ended up at a diner a few miles down, staring into a cold cup of coffee for 2 hours. When I got back, the car was gone. The curtains were open again. I walked in like nothing had happened, gave the kids hugs, Asked Emma how her day was. She didn't even flinch. Just said, "Fine." Lucas wet the bed again. I had to change all the sheets. Like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't just invited someone into our house while our children were home. I waited until after the kids went to bed. Then I asked, "Who was here earlier?" She looked up from her wine glass. "What do you mean?" "The blue Nissan, I saw it. I came home early." Her face didn't change. Not even a flicker of guilt. "Oh, a friend." "A friend," I echoed. "Yeah, Michael. I'm allowed to have friends. Or is that too much for your fragile ego?" That word again. Fragile. I stared at her, and for the first time in years, I felt nothing but cold. "Are you cheating on me?" She blinked slowly. "You really think I owe you monogamy after everything?" I swallowed hard. "After what?" She smiled then, a smile like a knife. "Maybe you should take a long look at how this marriage was built. You assumed loyalty was part of the deal. I never agreed to sacrifice myself for your comfort." "So you are," I whispered. "You're seeing someone." "Multiple," she said, standing up and walking to the sink. "You're free to do the same. Maybe one of my friends would even be into you." I felt like someone had slammed a cinder block into my chest. "Where were Sophie and Lucas?" I asked, my voice shaking. She didn't turn around. "In their room. With a man they don't know in the house." She shrugged. "They're fine." "They're not fine, Emma," I snapped. "Lucas is wetting the bed, and Sophie won't talk to me anymore. They're scared." She finally turned, eyes glassy. "That's your interpretation." That's when I knew. She was gone. Whatever part of her had once loved me, once cared about our family, it was dead. And I was standing in the ruins. I slept on the couch that night, not because she told me to, but because I couldn't stand to be near her. I stared at the ceiling and tried to make sense of it. Was it me? Had I missed something vital? Was there a moment, a choice, that led us to this? Or was this just who she'd become? The next morning I called in sick, dropped the kids off at school. Then I sat in the parking lot and cried like I hadn't since I was a kid. I wasn't crying for Emma. I was crying because I knew something had to change. I just didn't know what it would cost me yet. Frankie, I think there's a moment in every man's life where something inside him snaps. Not with rage, but with clarity. For me, it happened over scrambled eggs and coffee. Emma sat across the kitchen table, hair still wet from the shower, like it was just another Wednesday. The kids were finishing up cartoons in the living room. I was halfway through my first sip of coffee when she said it. "I've been thinking," she said casually, like she was talking about switching phone plans. "Maybe we should open the marriage." Just like that, no warning, no preamble. Her voice didn't even flinch. I didn't answer right away. I stared at her like she'd spoken in a different language. My brain just slowed down. She tilted her head. "Well?" I put the mug down. "Who's the guy, Emma?" Her eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" "Cut the performance," I said quietly. "I've seen the messages. You already did it, didn't you?" She didn't even blink. "Multiple times." I think I forgot how to breathe for a second. "You brought strange men into our home while the kids were here?" "They were asleep," she said, like that somehow made it better. "They didn't see anything." I stood up so fast that the chair scraped hard against the tile. My voice was still calm, but I could feel something unraveling in my chest. "They slept on the damn floor, didn't they?" "Because you needed the bed." Her eyes flicked away for the briefest second. "What else do you want me to say?" "I want you to tell me you regret it," I said. "That you're sorry, that you understand how deeply you've hurt this family." She scoffed. "I'm not sorry. You want guilt? Find a priest. I've been repressed, Michael. I've been loyal and suffocated and tired for 10 years. I'm finally breathing again." I stared at her like she was a stranger. In a way, she was. "You're not even trying to fix this." She shrugged. "There's nothing to fix. You want monogamy? Date someone else. Or like I said, maybe one of my friends would be into you." And that's when I decided something. This wasn't salvageable. But I wasn't going to lose everything either, especially not my kids. Later that day, after dropping them off at Emma's parents' for a planned overnight visit, I went home and did what I never thought I'd do. I took her phone. I'd already seen a few messages she forgot to delete, but now I wanted the full truth. I hooked it up to a data recovery program and let it run while I just sat there trembling. When the files popped up, I couldn't believe what I was reading. Screenshots, group chats, photos, explicit conversations with men I didn't know. Her feminist circle urging her on, telling her she was reclaiming her power by sleeping around and humiliating me. One even joked that she should make a false DV claim to get the upper hand in a custody battle if it came to that. That's when I felt my whole body go cold. Because now it wasn't just betrayal, it was danger. I bought a second phone that night and installed a monitoring app on hers, synced the accounts. From that point on, every message she sent, I saw. I played it cool for 3 more days. Let her think she was still in control. Let her meet friends. Let her lie. All while I built my case. Then I sent her to her parents' place again under the excuse that I needed quiet time for work. She left without hesitation. Within hours, I installed 3 security cameras in the house. One at the front door, one in the living room, and one facing the hallway to the kids' rooms. Just in case she tried anything. But what I did next, it was bold, maybe petty, maybe brilliant. I don't know. I found out through her group chat that she had a hotel meetup planned with a married man. I looked him up on social. His wife had tagged him in photos. So I messaged her. Hi, this may sound crazy, but your husband is meeting my wife at the hotel named tonight. If you want proof, I'll send it. She didn't reply right away, but 2 hours later, I got a message. I'm here, room 314, just watched her go inside. And 20 minutes later, she caught them, screaming, crying. The entire confrontation was filmed by hotel staff and leaked online. One of Emma's own friends sent the footage to their group chat in horror. I watched it all unfold in real time from the app on my phone. Emma sent me one message that night. I can't believe you did this. I didn't reply. What was left to say? The next day, I dropped the kids off at school, went home, and just collapsed. I wasn't proud of what I'd done. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was exhausted. But then something even worse came through her messages. One of her friends, Kayla, said, "You need to hit him first. Call the cops. Say he threatened you. He'll never see his kids again if you play this right." Another replied, "We all did it. It works. Men don't stand a chance in court." That's when I stopped hesitating. I wasn't dealing with betrayal anymore. I was up against a campaign of destruction. I downloaded every chat log, every message, backed them up. Then I called a lawyer. His name was Gregor, a contact my friend Leo had given me. Ex-military turned family law shark. After I explained everything, he gave me a single piece of advice. Do not confront her again directly. Document. Stay calm. Protect the kids. She's going to escalate. He was right, because 2 days later, Emma came home early. Unexpected, unannounced. The door camera picked her up. She didn't knock, just walked in with a flat effect, like a robot, like nothing had happened. I live here too, she said coldly when I asked her what she was doing. I want to see the kids. They're not here. Then I'll wait. She sat on the couch and pulled out her phone. I walked to the hallway camera and flipped it on just loud enough for her to hear. I have cameras now, I said quietly. She stiffened. Why? Because I've seen your group chat, Emma. I know what you're planning. Her hands started to shake just slightly. She stood up slowly. That's illegal. So is filing false charges. She opened her mouth to say something, then stopped. I suggest you leave now, I said, or I'll call the police. She did. And that night, she messaged every one of her friends. He knows. He has everything. I fucked up so bad. What do I do? They didn't comfort her. They turned on her. I thought maybe that would be the end of it, that she'd disappear for a while, lick her wounds, regroup. But no. She started playing a new game, emotional manipulation. Messages at 3 a.m. Are the kids okay? Midday texts. I just want to talk. One night she called crying, said she missed our family, said I was a good father. I didn't fall for it. I replied once, just once. I don't know who you are anymore, but I hope you find help. That was it. But you know what, Frankie? That message didn't bring me peace. It just made everything feel final. Frankie, you ever cry so hard you forget what your own voice sounds like? I don't mean a single tear or a shaky breath. I mean the kind of cry where your chest caves in and you make these raw, wounded sounds you didn't know a human could make. That was me. Every night. For weeks. I'd moved into my parents' house with Lucas and Sophie. I didn't even have the energy to explain. Just told them, it's over. My mom didn't ask questions. She just made tea, hugged the kids, and left me alone in the guest room to break. The pain wasn't just emotional, it was physical. My limbs felt heavy. My stomach was a knot. There were days I didn't eat. I'd just sit in the kitchen staring at the toaster like it had answers. And then came the final punch in the gut. I went in for a routine checkup, just to make sure I was okay after all the stress. The nurse came back into the room with a strange look. "Michael, you tested positive for chlamydia." I blinked. That's not possible. I haven't slept with anyone else." She looked down. "Then I talked to your wife." And that's when my heartbreak turned to rage. I drove home, if you could even call it that, feeling like my skin was burning. My kids were in the back seat, quietly eating snacks. Sophie hummed to herself. Lucas looked out the window, his eyes still too tired for a 9-year-old. All I could think was, she didn't just betray me, she endangered me. And for what? Power? Freedom? Revenge? I didn't confront her. I didn't send a message. I just added it to the growing file I was building. Reasons Emma should never get custody. That night, I finally broke down in front of someone. His name was Marcus, one of my best friends, ex-military. Lost his leg in a deployment, but never lost his soul. He found me in the garage, sitting on the floor, still in my work clothes, hands shaking. "I got chlamydia, Mark," I choked out. "She gave me a fucking STD." He didn't speak for a long time, just sat down next to me. Then he said, "You're not going through this alone?" Because when things hit rock bottom, the cavalry showed up. Marcus made some calls, got me in touch with a counselor from the VA network, someone who specialized in high-conflict divorces and trauma recovery. My other friend Leo, security executive and paranoid as hell, helped me encrypt all my digital files. He created a secure folder of every message, every recording, every time-stamped photo. And Daniel, my old college roommate turned school teacher, offered to babysit the kids while I sorted through the legal mess. "You focus on surviving," he said. "I've got bedtime covered." Those guys saved my life. I don't say that lightly, because I wasn't just angry, I was spiraling. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My body would jerk awake in the middle of the night like it had forgotten how to breathe. And then came the Zoom call. It was supposed to be a co-parenting session, neutral ground, monitored by our attorneys. But from the second Emma logged on, I knew something was off. Her face looked pale, gaunt even, eyes darting off screen every few seconds. She kept muting herself mid-sentence. I started recording it, Leo's advice. At one point I heard whispering in the background. Then this voice, "Say he threatened the kids." She unmuted. I'm concerned for the children's safety." "Emma," I said flatly, "who are you talking to?" She blinked. "No one." "You're lying. I heard someone tell you what to say." She glared at me. "You're paranoid, see? This is what I'm talking about, this aggression." And that's when I held up my phone. "I have this entire call recorded, and I'll be sending it to the mediator." Her face collapsed. For the first time in months, she looked genuinely afraid. She ended the call without saying another word. The next day, my lawyer filed an emergency motion for temporary full custody. We won. For a little while, things got quiet. Emma stopped messaging. Her friends went radio silent. It felt like maybe the worst was behind us. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something darker was still waiting in the wings. And I was right. Because 2 weeks later, I got a call from an unknown number. The voice was female. "Are you Michael?" "Yes. I'm one of Emma's friends. I was in the group chat." Silence. "Why are you calling me?" "Because she's not okay. None of us are. And something happened last night." My stomach dropped. "What happened?" "She got beat up. Badly. The other girls, they think she leaked the messages. They said she brought heat on us." I couldn't speak. "She's in the hospital. She left a note before she disappeared." "Disappeared?" "Yeah. Her dad found her unconscious on a park bench near the edge of town. They think she tried to OD." I swallowed hard. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I think she's dying." I don't know why I went to the hospital. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted to look her in the eyes one last time. Maybe I wanted to scream. Instead, I found her father pacing the hallway, clutching a piece of paper like it was a grenade. "She wrote this," he said, handing it to me. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't a confession. It was a goodbye. She called herself a failure. said she hated who she'd become, said she missed our children but didn't want them to remember her like this. Then she named names: Kayla, Tony, Sasha. Said they weren't just her friends, they were dealers, meth, escorts. The feminist group was just a front, a pipeline to exploitation. They had gotten her hooked, used her, turned her into someone she didn't recognize, and now they wanted her gone. I gave the note to Leo. He sent it to his buddy Alex. Alex wasn't a lawyer or a therapist. He was an enforcer, a soft-spoken, terrifying man who could make grown men cry with a stare. Within 3 days, Alex tracked down Kayla and the others, confronted them, got confessions, threatened police action if they didn't comply. They crumbled. The group disbanded. Some fled town, some went to jail. Emma, meanwhile, was transferred to a rehabilitation center under her father's guardianship. I covered her first month of treatment, not for her, for my kids, because I didn't want them to live in a world where no one even tried to help their mother. But it wasn't enough. 3 weeks into rehab, I got the call. Emma was dead, overdose, in her room, alone. I came home that day and held Lucas and Sophie in my arms. "How do we tell them?" I asked my mother. She didn't answer, just held my hand. Eventually, I looked into my children's eyes and said the hardest words I've ever spoken. "Mommy's not coming back." They cried. I cried. We sat on the floor of the living room, the sun slanting through the blinds like it was trying to make sense of the day. You ever stand in a quiet house and feel like the silence is screaming? That was me, Frankie, the day after Emma's funeral. No ceremony, no eulogies. Just a burial, cold and fast, like the world was in a hurry to forget her. Lucas didn't cry at the gravesite. He just stood there clutching my hand so tight I thought he'd crush my fingers. Sophie asked if we could put one of her drawings in the casket. A son with a smiling stick figure family. Mom, Dad, Sophie, and Lucas. I nodded, folded it carefully, slipped it under the edge of the pillow next to Emma's head. She didn't look like herself anymore. She hadn't for a long time. Back at the house, I sat on the living room floor while the kids napped upstairs. The toys were untouched. The TV was off. It was just me and the ghost of a woman I used to know. There were moments when I felt like it was all a nightmare, that she'd walk through the door with that half-annoyed, half-playful smirk and ask why the dishes weren't done, that the last year had just been a fever dream. But then I'd remember the way Lucas flinched when she yelled, the way Sophie stopped singing around her, the way Emma's eyes looked during that Zoom call, vacant, robotic, dead long before her body caught up. She was gone, twice over. And now, it was just us. People talk about grief like it's a mountain you climb over, but they don't tell you the truth, Frankie. Grief is a room, and some days you forget you're in it until you slam into the walls. The first time Sophie asked when Mommy was coming home, I froze. I knelt down, took her tiny hands in mine. I said, "Sweetheart, remember when you asked where Grandma's cat went after it died?" She nodded, eyes wide. She went to a place where there's no more pain, no more sadness, just peace. That's where Mommy is now. Sophie blinked, then asked, "But how will she know we love her?" I broke. I pulled her into my arms, kissed the top of her head and whispered, "Because we're going to remind her every day. By being kind, by being strong, and by remembering the good things." I don't know if that was the right thing to say, but it was all I had. Emma's dad offered to help out with the kids, said he wanted to make amends, be present, be useful. He'd seen the wreckage firsthand. He blamed himself for not seeing the signs earlier. I didn't blame him, because if I was being honest, I'd missed them too. Emma had always struggled with anxiety. Depression ran in her family, but she hid it behind her intelligence, her sarcasm, her sharp wit, until it all curdled into something darker. And it didn't happen overnight. It happened one friend at a time, one compromise at a time, one false belief at a time. And by the time I noticed, the woman I loved was already drowning. A few weeks later, Leo brought over a USB drive. "I thought you'd want to see this," he said. It was video footage, Alex's work, confessions from Emma's so-called friends, full names, dealers, financial records, even a ledger showing payouts to recruiters, Emma's name included in one of the columns. "You could press charges," Leo said. "Make sure they don't do this to someone else." I looked at that screen, paused on the face of the woman who convinced Emma to make false abuse claims, and something twisted in my gut. I wanted justice, but more than that, I wanted peace. So I gave it all to the police. Quietly, no fanfare, no social media call-outs. Let the system decide what came next. The nights were the hardest. I'd wake up sweating, breath caught in my throat, reaching for someone who wasn't there. Sometimes I heard Emma's voice, not the cold, bitter voice she'd used toward the end, but the voice I remembered from college. The one that whispered, "You're my home." I'd lie awake wondering, was she always broken? Or did life break her? Did I break her? But those thoughts never led anywhere good. So instead, I focused on the kids. We built routines, little rituals. Every night after brushing teeth, we each said one thing we were grateful for. Sophie always said, "That you tucked me in." Lucas started saying, "That you didn't leave." It hurt to hear, but I never corrected him, because he was right. 6 months later, I stood in front of a judge to finalize full custody. The courtroom was clinically quiet. The clerk read the paperwork aloud. Custodial rights granted to Mr. Michael Heron, sole decision-making authority. Case closed. I expected to feel triumphant, but all I felt was tired. I walked out of that courthouse into the cold air and let the weight of it settle on my shoulders. No more battles, no more threats. Just me and the kids, and the long road ahead. I got promoted at work, nothing flashy, just enough to breathe easier. Marcus got married. Daniel published a children's book. Leo started dating someone new, his first real relationship since his divorce. Life kept moving, one step at a time. I joined a support group, other single dads. We sat in a circle drinking bad coffee and sharing stories of loss, custody wars, broken hearts. I told my story once, and a guy named Dean, quiet, tattooed, tough as nails, walked up afterward and hugged me. Said, "You made it out. That counts for something." Now every year on Emma's birthday, we visit the park, the same one where her father found her on that bench. Sophie brings flowers, Lucas brings a drawing. We sit on the same worn picnic blanket and talk about the happy memories. The time she baked a lopsided cake for Lucas's 6th birthday, the way she'd sing along to the car radio, even off key. The time she danced with Sophie in the kitchen until they both fell laughing. I don't hide from the truth, but I don't let it poison the memories either. She was broken, but she loved them. Even at the end. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough to hold on to. Frankie, I don't tell you this to shock you. I tell you because sometimes people vanish in plain sight. Sometimes the person you married isn't the person standing in front of you anymore. But love, real love, it doesn't end with the person. It lives in the people left behind, in bedtime stories, in pancakes on Sunday mornings, in the way my daughter holds my hand and my son leans on my shoulder when he's tired. We're still here, and that's what matters now. If you made it this far, thanks for riding with me. If you love real, messy, emotional stories like this, go ahead and hit subscribe. There's always another confession waiting in the back seat.